But let's talk about something else briefly. So sex ratios. Now we have two different possibilities here. We have a primary sex ratio and a secondary sex ratio. Now the primary sex ratio is the ratio of, let's say, genetic males to, let's say, conceived. Genetic males conceived to genetic females conceived in a population. You know, genetic males XY, genetic females XX. So the secondary sex ratio, and we're talking about humans with respect to sex ratio here. So ratio of genetic males born to genetic females born. Okay, ratio of genetic males conceived to genetic females conceived for the primary sex ratio. Ratio of genetic males born to genetic females born for the secondary sex ratio. Now, according to Mendelian genetics, according to Mendelian genetics, and when we say when someone says Mendelian genetics, well, essentially this is what happens. This is what I mean right here. So males, according to Mendelian genetics, 50% of the gametes of the sperm should carry an X chromosome, assuming no non-disjunction, no translocations, or anything like that. 50% of the gametes should carry an X, 50% of the gametes should carry a Y. And so when we say, according to Mendelian genetics, what that means is we're talking about Mendel's postulates. Mendel's postulates say, you know, segregation occurs and gametes have an equal chance of inheriting either the X chromosome or the Y chromosome. So yeah, sperm should be either, half of them should be X, half of them should be Y. So for genetic females, eggs, all of them, 100% should be X, right? Just a single X. Because genetic females have two X chromosomes. So for the primary sex ratio, one would expect that, and for the, well, at least, yeah, for the primary sex ratio, one would expect that, what, should be 1-to-1, right? We should see, I'll say this, for every 100 males, genetic males conceived, there should be 100 females, right? The number should be equal. However, we know from looking at the secondary sex ratio across the globe in every culture is that for the sex of the genetic sex of the infant being born, there are 170 males for 100 females, about. So slightly more males than females. So how can that be? How can that be, right? So scientists have known this for a long time, as early as the early part of the 1900s, that the secondary sex ratio was biased towards males. There were more males than females being born. So maybe it is the primary sex ratio that is different. Maybe there are more zygotes, more male zygotes being conceived than females. So another possibility, right, is that these numbers are equal. Right here, primary sex ratio is equal, but maybe female embryos don't survive to term as well as male embryos do. So more of them are dying in utero than males. So scientists took a look at this in the 1940s, I believe, and in 1948 there was a study published where scientists had looked at 6,000 miscarriages miscarriages. And turns out most of the miscarriages, and the majority of them, or I should say more of them, significantly more of them, were males. So it looks like the 46XY karyotype is less viable than 46XX, in utero during embryogenesis. So 46XX has a higher chance of after conception of being born and not undergoing a spontaneous miscarriage, or miscarriage, a spontaneous abortion. So what does that say about our secondary sex ratio, right, of 107 males, genetic males, to 100 genetic females? Well, it suggests that the primary sex ratio has to be even higher than this. If more males or more conceived males or less conceived males are making it to be born, are making it all the way through embryogenesis to be born, then this must be even higher than this for the primary ratio. So scientists currently estimate that the primary sex ratio, the number of conceptions in humans, is 120 males to 100 females. So for every 220 zygotes conceived in the human population, 120 of them are genetic males, 100 are genetic females. And a number this high will account for the secondary sex ratio, considering that male zygotes have a smaller chance of surviving to term than genetic female zygotes. Okay, so primary sex ratio of 120 males to 100 females, with a secondary sex ratio of about 107 genetic males to 100 genetic females in humans. Okay, so why is this primary sex ratio so biased towards males? What can possibly lead to that if males are producing equal numbers of Y sperm and X sperm? So essentially no one knows. No one knows yet, and there are hypotheses as to why this occurs. And one possibility, it could be, so if this is the Y chromosome, and let's say this is the X chromosome, so the Y chromosome is substantially smaller than the X chromosome. X chromosome has about 1,000 genes. Y chromosome, we said 50 to 75 genes. This is 156 million base pairs. This one right here, Y chromosome, is only about 50 million base pairs. So could it be that Y chromosome bearing sperm are lighter? Could it be simply due to mass of the sperm? So they given lots and lots of different conceptions, Y has a chance of getting there first before an X bearing sperm. I mean, that seems to be one possibility. Another possibility, maybe with more DNA in the sperm, maybe the sperm uses more energy to maintain that DNA, make sure it doesn't get damaged. I mean, I don't know. Well, point is, no one really knows yet. No one really knows yet. But the primary sex ratio in humans is 120 males to, estimates I should say, 120 genetic males to 100 genetic females, and no one quite knows why more males are conceived than females. So it'd be interesting if, hey, maybe someday one of you guys can become a geneticist or OBGYN or MD PhD and figure this out for us. That'd be really cool. So, okay, so that's it for sex determination and sex ratios in humans. And next we are going to start talking about, I think, barn bodies and X chromosome inactivation. Okay, see you in the next video.